So next, resentment, right? So resentment is a emotional killer, ladies. And I speak with, so many women who are still caught up in that resentment, emotion, right? He did this to me and I'm still hurt behind this. And I resent the fact that he gets to move on with his life. He gets to have this new relationship. He gets to, have this relationship with the kids, and I'm taking all the blame and they don't like me and it was really his fault. Or I'm resenting the fact that I have to change my lifestyle because he chose something different. Or, right? There's so many different uh, situations that are, that are true, that are hurtful, that are, painful. That is not right, right? But at the end of the day, what happened is what happened. At the end of the day, the resentment is doing more damage to you than it is to him, right? And your life needs to turn over a new leaf. You can't hold on to the anger, the disappointment, the frustration, all of that, which is wrapped up in resentment, because it will hold you back, right? So, in order to clear out those negative emotions regarding your divorce, the one of the first things that needs to happen is work on the resentment emotion. Okay. So really, it's a hard thing, and I'll be, honest with that, to push through, to work through, to journey through that emotion of resentment towards really anybody, but specifically we're talking about exes, right? Ex-husbands. Uh, you have to be okay with what was, right? What was and what is and what happened. Accept the fact that it is what it is. You don't like it. You don't even have to, um, you don't even have to pretend like it didn't happen, or, pretend like you are, I don't want to say over it, but, you do need to be over it at some point, but you don't have to pretend that the emotion isn't there. You don't have to pretend that it was wrong, right? That you were wrong, I'm going to say. But you do have to get to that point where you no longer are bitter about the situation. You have to get to the point where you can think about, your life, your previous life, or see your ex out, or, the exchange for the kids, or whatever that situation is whenever you see them, and it doesn't trigger you. You can go through pictures. You can, I don't suggest looking and scrolling through Facebook and his social medias and all of that kind of stuff. I don't suggest that. However, there may be times where, it's necessary. I don't know if you still have kids and you're trying to present that, that united front, and you do have to see each other and things of that sort. you know you have to try your best to release the resentment of he gets to and I'm still here, or it was unfair that he made this choice, and because he made that choice, I now have to change my dream. I now have to change my lifestyle. I now have to be, a single mother, or I now have to, work. Sometimes that was a thing. You didn't have to have, those responsibilities when you were married, but all of a sudden, because of a choice that you didn't even make, you have to. And I understand how resentment, can come about, in that situation. It's normal, right? But what isn't normal is staying in the resentment. I'm not saying you don't have a right and you don't have a reason to be resentful, but what is it doing for you? Other than keeping you stuck, other than keeping you sad, other than keeping you feeling like um, you're having a hard time moving on. I speak with, so you hear my cat in the back. Hi, Sixer. Um, you know, I speak with so many who are just saying, I just feel like I'm not ready to move on yet because I still feel some kind of way about what he did and how he did me and my family, how he did me and my kids. I gave him everything. I gave him all of me, and this is what I get. No, I'm upset and I'm angry. I hear you, ladies. I hear you. I feel for you. I understand you. I feel you because I was there, before at a point in my life. But you got to get to the point where you say, yes, it was unfair. Yes, it didn't. I wish it didn't happen to me. Yes, I wanted it a different way. No, this was not my dream. However, this is where I am. And I need to come to terms with that and I need to accept that. I don't really like him, and you don't have to, but you do have to learn to respect him and his choices, right? It's his life. You don't have to agree, with his choices, but you do have to respect his choices enough so that you can move on, so that you aren't sitting there worrying and wondering about how he's spending his money, how he's spending his time, whatever the case is. It's not beneficial for you, right? And those that have children, excuse me. Ooh, that's hot. Let me let this cool for a little bit longer. For those of you who have children, the best thing that you can show them is how to move on in a healthy way, not how to ignore problems, not how to sweep things under the rug. And this is why the Free and Clear program is so important, ladies, because there is a difference. There is a huge, huge, huge emotional shift in your energy when you actually do the work and heal. You may be thinking, I'll just ignore it. I'll just sweep it under the rug. I'll just keep pushing. I'll just keep going. But the reality of the pain that is still there is still there. It's in your energy field. You can feel it when you allow yourself to feel it, or sometimes even when you don't want it, to feel it, it still comes up. Your children feel it. The people that are around you feel it. The new relationships that you attract, they feel it. It is not enough to pretend like everything is okay. It is not enough to just continue to move on and put one foot in front of the other and just expect for things to go away on its own. You have to clean out the wound. You have to be totally free from the emotion and clear from any sign of it, right? That's what the Free and Clear method is all about. And that's what it teaches you how to do so that you can fully show up as your authentic, whole, and happy, healthy self in this life. We do not have time to stay stuck on that hamster wheel or on that emotional roller coaster, or pretending that you're not still feeling the pain that you're feeling, or spending, months and months and months and years and years and years sometimes still dealing with that resentment, still dealing with that frustration, still dealing with the emptiness that you're feeling, the sadness. And believe me, ladies, it happens. It happens so often where women are battling with this for years, right? And they think, they get to a point where they think that they're good. Something happens, a trigger, and they're right back to where they are or where they were before, right? Maybe they even move on to a whole nother relationship. Maybe even get married again, have a couple kids again, right? However, if that wound, if those emotions have not been dealt with in the proper way, they will always resurface, right? It's just a matter of time. So really concentrating and focusing on yourself, taking the time to actually heal all of the wounds that you have, right? Those emotional triggers, that frustration, that resentment, which is a killer, right, to your emotions. You'll never live the dream and realize the dream that you want for your life, which means your children are seeing that. Who else is it affecting in your life besides you, right? This thing is bigger than you. You have a purpose here in this life, and your purpose is not to be stuck in an emotional cycle of chaos, right? Your mission, your purpose, your destiny is not to be broken, right? It's not. You may go through a period of sadness, but God did not put you on this earth to not live out your purpose and to be stuck on the past, right? How are you going to figure out who you are? How are you going to be introduced to your brilliant self, your purposeful self, if you don't do the work to meet her, right? You cannot be who you want to be still stuck in who you were, right? You got to do the work. You got to do the work. Time doesn't heal. Just sitting down and not making that first step doesn't get the job done. But what it does create is generational cycles, right? Because your daughter sees that. Your sons show up differently when they're older. You don't want to transfer energies. And whether you know it or not, that's what's being done when you don't take the time to do the inner work. There is no price too high. There is not any time period that's too long for you to actually do the work. Now, there is a price to pay that's too expensive, and a price and at a time period that's too long when you're not doing the work. That's called wasting your life, right? That's just called I'm gonna just throw it out there. I'm gonna see what happens, and I'm gonna just let time do its thing. Time is going to do its thing by continuing to tick, right? You're gonna just continue to get older. You're gonna continue to, to age and still stay in the same place. That right there is too expensive, right? That costs you way too much. But the price to pay to get all of that cleared out, to begin to really introduce yourself to you, to your true self, to the person that you want to be, to the person that you desire to be, that you were created to be, there is no price higher or too expensive, right? For that. There's not a time period. I don't want to, keep hearing, I don't have the time to dedicate because I have to do this. I don't have the money because I have to do this. You can't afford to not do it. What are you telling yourself? Are you worth it or are you not? Right? We spend time on everything else. We spend finances on everything else. We invest in everything else. But when it comes to doing the inner work, for some reason, we don't have the time or the investment to invest in your inner being. What is that telling you? What is that telling the people that love and look up to you? How is that valuing you? But you want to stay stuck. I don't want to say want because people really don't want it. However, you choose to stay in the frustration now. You choose to stay in the resentment. It's about your choices, ladies. I feel like this is going a lot longer than 10 minutes, so I'm going to wrap this up. But please hear my heart. And this isn't, I'm not condemning you. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. But what I am trying to do is motivate you, or show you reality and give you another perspective. Because possibly, just possibly, you've never heard that you are worth it. Maybe you've never heard that you have value, right? Maybe you've never heard that you get to choose the destiny that you want for yourself, right? Maybe you've never heard anyone say that you are worthy of living the life of your dreams. And if you can dream it, honey, you can have it. It belongs to you. Just do the work. All right. Love you. This is to your happy, your healthy, and your whole life, right? Choose you so that you can be there for everyone else. Because as women, that's how we show up in life. We're here for others. But until we can be who we need to be for us, we don't have any business being anything to anybody else, because we're doing more damage than good at that point. Okay? All right. Love you.